In this video, I want to talk a little bit about a seemingly simple exercise, the glute bridge, that can easily be done incorrectly. It can involve a lot of helper muscles that are taking over for the target muscles, which are supposed to be the glutes and the hamstrings. So let's just talk first of all about the fact that a standard glute bridge done on your back with your feet flat and your knees at about 90 will primarily involve hip extension from the glutes. The further away your feet are, so if you open up your knee angle a bit, you're going to find the hamstrings are more involved. So I typically start by teaching it with glute predominance or focus, so feet a little closer. But here the issue is a lot of people just thrust their hips upwards and they're either clenching their glutes centrally, okay, or they're feeling it really coming from the front of their legs, because what they're doing is driving their feet down into the floor and trying to propel this movement through knee extension. So they're using their quads instead of their glutes. Other folks may find that this is uncomfortable because their back is deeply arched, or when they start doing the hip thrust, all they feel is a worsening arching and discomfort in their low back. For all you people, I would listen in, because I'm going to give you alternatives and ways to address what is happening. For my folks who find that the low back is arched, you're probably in an anterior tilt, tight back muscles, perhaps weaker abdominals, and you can help yourself feel more comfortable in this position by doing two things. One is you can try just putting a rolled towel under your back and practicing abdominal engagement here in the front. However, oftentimes when I say engage the abs, and it should feel like a low abdominal gathering that sort of lifts your pubic bone a little bit, right? Not much, but in this environment where we're struggling with glute bridge activation of the right muscles, I think it's quite common that action alone causes glute gripping, central glute clenching, and also a lot of activation in the front, which is what we're trying to get around. So what we're going to do is put our heels to rest on a chair or a bench like this, where they're really encouraging the leg to sort of just be relaxed. We want to establish relaxation through this front pocket muscle, that part of the hip flexor complex here. It should be soft and not tense. And under our hands, we should feel our quads likewise relaxed. So try and get there. And then what I'm going to do to get you to engage your abs, rather than actively thinking belt buckle up or sort of gather the low abs, I'm going to get you to do an exhale. And the way to do this correctly, so that you don't end up over gripping the wrong muscles, is to start with a slow, quiet inhale through your nose. Keep the mouth closed. Inhale through the nose, but think about sending your breath down and out. So you want to expand downward, not upward, down into your deep pelvic floor and out to the sides and down. So think about that as you draw your breath in quietly, and avoid drawing suddenly or noisily. That allows you to sort of involve neck, chest muscles that we often do, because, we want to do relaxed inhale. And then from there, you're going to perform a prolonged complete exhale through pursed lips. And again, you're not pushing hard. The minute you start acting like you're blowing into a balloon, you're going to start gripping some of your outer abs. We want deep abdominals. It should feel like a gradual pulling in as you exhale completely, until you've got no air left, and you could even do an end exhalation cough. And you should feel everything kind of flatten in here. And it should help relieve tension right away on the low back, because you're bringing your pelvis into the right position by contracting the abs. Now, you're going to practice that And while you do that with cycles, you can just do 4 breath cycles and see if you can hold a little bit that tension while you breathe over it. So once you've established the contraction, you want to be able to hold that and still notice that I'm speaking, my abs are contracted. See if now you still have unclenched glutes, central glutes, and relaxed anterior leg muscles. If they're already angry and I shouldn't say angry, but activated, you have work to do on just dissociating those things, and you might have to work on this instead of your glute bridges for a while. Then if you think you've got it, what you're gonna do next is part 2 is pushing a heel down into the bench, one heel, while maintaining the abdominal activation, seeing if you can activate the back of the leg. You'll feel your hamstring, not your glute here, without excessive tension in the front of your leg. If all that happens is you feel a lot of your front leg and not a lot of your back leg, this is your exercise. That's it. And you can alternate one leg and the other leg for up to 6 reps in a row, and then relax, release, reset the abdominal tension, and then press one heel, relax the other heel, relax. It helps to have your hand on the target muscle of interest, okay? And maintaining and checking every now and then that you're not tensing overly with the back, the front of the leg. Then, if that feels easy, what you can do is brace, and maybe that doesn't require an exhale anymore. See if both heels can push down, and you can just lift your hips just an inch off the ground, okay? And again, this is gonna be felt mostly in the hamstrings. What you want to see is that you feel it in the back and not in the front. Okay, and you can even just hold that and then release, and hold and release. Okay, the next step then is the full hip extension. So with that engaged hamstring sensation and not excessively, gripping in the front, what we're gonna do now is lift our hips. And again, think about driving the heels down and keeping the front of the legs from stiffening a lot. If they're stiffening a lot, don't lift as much. Just see if you can get the sequence of activation of the muscles in the back of the leg without triggering too much activity. Of course, you will have some stiffening here, but it shouldn't be dramatic. What should be dramatic is a lot of a difference in the tension of the muscles at the back of the leg. So get those hamstrings involved without the front of the leg involved in that basic exercise. Now, this is getting a little long. I wanted it to be short, but if you want to then bring it back to the ground, believe it or not, this might end up being a bigger challenge, okay, for you. The other thing I want you to think about, first of all, is it can help to engage your glutes putting a band around your knees, okay? In that instance, my suggestion is to walk your feet out wide and think about pressing the band out rather than having the feet closer together and spreading just the knees. Because in many cases, that sensation of deep glute tension and gripping is only going to be exacerbated by doing that. So you want to avoid that. Instead, use a band to spread things and press the feet out wide, and think about separating the band outward rather than opening up like a clam. Okay, and then with that in place, and again, you shouldn't feel a lot of activation in the front of your hip with this. It's a side butt that you're activating, and then you can lift and lower. And it could be a small range of motion, reset with every rep, separate, think sideways activation, and always engaging those abs and lift. You should feel all of this action in the back pocket and the big fleshy part of your glute, okay? Now, for my friends with a lot of persistent activation in the front, my suggestion is try this alternative, and you just have to try these things. Feet are going to be a little narrower, and you're going to take something like a yoga block, but it could be, a small soft ball, or it could be a towel. Then what you're going to do is practice the opposite. So pushing the legs together. Now here, make sure you're not gripping your glutes. Make sure what you feel is the inner thigh contract, okay? And your abdominals are engaged, and see if you can do that without firing those front pocket muscles, and then lift. This will often help with pelvic stability. And again, assuming you're pressing inward and not, with your feet narrower and not wide like so. You want to make sure your knees and feet are lined up so it's a fairly narrow stance because this object is not wide. You should sense that this pushing of your legs together is tensing the inner thigh, not the front pocket or quad area. Then for you folks, just give that a try and see if that changes things for you. Experiment with different variations of the glute bridge to see if you can discourage over-involvement of the front of your hips and alleviate some of the perhaps discomfort in your low back. The other recommendations are to foam roll this hip flexor area, and the video for that is in the posture and mobility section of the app under coaching resources, the light blue squares. There's a section, posture and mobility, lower cross syndrome. I know you have to go searching a bit. It'll show you how to foam roll the hip flexors, and that can be really important to calm that area down. And then there's squat breathing that I really, really like for people who tend to have deep hip, clenchy glutes, people who feel some tension in their back pocket area, or feel that, they live with their feet kind of outturned. Those are people who would benefit from this as well. Tension in the low back. You want to have your feet closer together, arms outside your legs. Grab hold of something low and sturdy. Okay? And simply be in this rounded back, deep squat position, and see if you cannot breathe by sending air down deep into your sits bones region, into your glute area, and into your low back. Try to avoid letting air come up into your shoulders and neck. Bring those shoulders down and simply breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth and in through. There won't be a lot of room for air to go. You won't get a deep breath. But I'm willing to bet if this is very difficult for you, you have a very tense low back, and in which case prone breathing might be better for you initially. It won't necessarily release the hip, but it will certainly release the back. And that's simply this position. Breathe in. And see if you can breathe and expand that low back and release the tension in your low back. So it's a bit of a long tutorial for people struggling with the glute bridge, struggling with hip pain or back pain, or feeling the glute bridge even just in the front of their legs. There's variations of this exercise that might be better suited for you, or you may just need to give that exercise a break and work on abdominal engagement and simply learning how to activate the back of your legs before the front of the legs, or without activating the front of the legs. This is also going to play out in later on movements. If you can master it now, take the time to do it. Let me know what you think.